What's up? What's up? Happy Sunday. Going through and doing a quick mock draft. So a lot of people have their redraft seasons coming up. I know a few leagues of mine are probably end of August, but there's people doing them this coming weekend, the weekend after. I know there's some events and things like that. So what I want to do is I want to go through a quick mock draft. And what I'll do is do a one quarterback league. That's probably your standard league across all the average fantasy football consumer, average fantasy football player that does a standardized league like that. I do a lot of super flex leagues, and I do IDP, which is with defensive players. There's a ton of different leagues, but I feel like the one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex is pretty standard across fantasy leagues. So let me get that going here. All right. So we got fantasypros.com. They have the mock draft simulator. Let's get that going. Again, we'll do a 2021 season. So that's like redraft, PPR, keep that the same. Snake, that's the draft type we'll stick with. We'll go with I think 10 teams fine. One quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end. We'll go with one flex, and we'll have no bench, no defense, anything like that. So 10 teams. Let's randomize it 3 times here. So 3 times on the randomizer. So go 1, 2, 3. All right, so 6. So kind of middle of the draft, sort of draft position there. But we'll kick things off, and hopefully we can get a decent grade here. I have some free time on Sunday. Little one is down for a nap. Wife is gone, so why not do a mock draft here? So you can see my team here. Off the board, we got CMC, Dalvin Cook, Zeke, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry. So in my mind, just playing the draft board, and I think that's important for the fantasy leagues you play in. I'm seeing running backs go right away. So, the wide receiver being so deep, the deepest position in fantasy, I'm not thinking about that. Some people will say, hey, Travis Kelce being the monster he is and the positional advantage he is, that might be the go-to pick. I think I'm going to hold off on that as well, just seeing so many running backs go off the board. So it comes down to who is going to finish, in my mind, this season the highest. So Saquon Barkley, in a perfectly healthy world, I think would be a smash choice at the 102 or the 103, but he may not be active right away. So if he's not active, that gives me some concerns early on, just because if I'm in a very competitive league, I probably want to make sure week to week I'm getting those W's if possible. So I'm juggling between Saquon and Aaron Jones. Saquon, I think, is going to have a good year. He's still going to be a top 10 running back, but I think that he might be eased into his role a little bit and not be given the full 100% workload that we would expect. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones, who in my mind is always slept on. The guy's finished as a top 10 running back, I think top 5 running back the last 2 seasons, catches the ball, runs the ball. The offense is good. His quarterback is back. So Aaron Jones is going to be my choice here for my first pick. Aaron Jones doesn't get talked about a lot. Guy does everything. So off the board, after my pick, Barkley, which we juggled, so that makes sense. Then Devonta Adams, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, who we mentioned, Eckler, and Jonathan Taylor. So suggestions, they have wide receivers, tight ends. Again, a lot of running backs have gone off the board. Looking here, a lot of people are high on Antonio Gibson with Rivera this year, getting those CMC coach speak talks. Najee Harris, massive fan of his and what he can do with that volume he's going to get for Pittsburgh. Don't like Mixon at all. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, another guy kind of slept on, who is in a great offense and can do some nice things. A lot of good wide receivers here. All of these guys should be top 10. We're looking at Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, all top 10 wide receivers for 2021 in a perfectly healthy world. I might go with the positional advantage, though, right now and take Darren Waller. Darren Waller is going to be an insanely targeted player, just like last year. He was extremely targeted in the red zone. I believe that he was the second most targeted player in the red zone behind Davante Adams, and that's great for a tight end. And you're either going to go early with the tight ends in your drafts, or you're just not going to draft them until later. So with this strategy, I want to get a positional advantage. I got a running back after that running back run, and now I think I can get a true positional advantage for Darren Waller, who I have as the tight end 2 for this coming season. So we're going to go and grab him there. So after our Waller pick, Hopkins, Ridley, Jefferson, Joe Mixon, Gibson, CEH, Najee, McLaurin, Keenan Allen, and Mahomes. So the suggested A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, DK Metcalf, and DeAndre Swift. So again, 3 guys still left on the board that can finish inside the top 10, in my opinion. The running backs, Swift, I'm a massive Swift guy. I think that he's a guy that is a great pass catcher. He's a great runner with the ball in his hands. He's efficient in the red zone. I think he's going to be great on a team that is not going to be good, which doesn't always really matter for fantasy purposes. So tight ends we don't have to worry about because we got our guy. Wide receivers are still so many on the board. So Swift, there was a statistic I looked at. I think it was like 2016 through the present. There was like a 2/3 chance, so 66.6% chance if a guy caught forgot what it was, 60 receptions, they were a top 12 back. So I think he is a guy that can catch like 70 passes. And it might be aiming high there, but I truly believe this guy is going to be a top 5 targeted running back this year. I'm not scared of Jamal Williams. If you were a Aaron Jones fan last season and Williams did not scare you back then, he shouldn't scare you with Swift. I think Swift's going to be a big part of this passing game. Even if the offense struggles, they have a great offensive line. Again, massive Swift guy, so this is an easy pick for me. We're going to take DeAndre Swift there. All right, so I think we can hold off on quarterback in a one quarterback league. If you want to go and get Mahomes early, you probably had to in the where do you go? In the 3rd, which if you want to go that route, you can, but I think you can still just wait and get some value at guys that could be top 5 potential. We took Swift, then it went Metcalf, A.J. Brown, J.K. Dobbins, Allen Robinson, George Kittle, Monty, CeeDee Lamb, and Josh Allen. So we need a wide receiver right now. We need a wide receiver. And the guys here on the board are guys that I expect to have good seasons. I expect to have high target volume. I think Robert Woods with Matt Stafford is going to be special. I actually think, and I'll be in the minority here if that's the case, but I think that Robert Woods is going to have a better fantasy season than Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods can both be good, but I've always been a Robert Woods guy. They find ways to get him involved in the offense. McVay, head coach McVay, Sean McVay, loves Robert Woods. They extended him. They find ways for him to do the jet sweeps and running the ball and screen pass plays. He goes deep at times. They look to get this guy involved. And I think that his target volume is going to be great. I think with Matt Stafford as a new quarterback, we should be excited because that's an upgrade over Jared Goff. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans with Tom Brady, very, very good fantasy values. But at the same time, I think Brady with Antonio Brown, as well as the tight ends in that room, he's going to spread the ball a bit. They're both going to be very good for fantasy. Amari Cooper is another guy that is always good for fantasy. He's good with Dak. Julio Jones was a monster throughout his entire career outside of some injuries as of late. But with Ryan Tannehill is going to be great too. But I'm going to go with Robert Woods here just because of my personal preference of Woods and the way he's using that Rams offense. Julio's still on the board. Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, Adam Thielen. So not a huge Tyler Lockett guy. You know, everybody knows that stat that I think 3 games accounted for a large chunk of his fantasy production just because he went off in those 3 games. He had a lot of up and down games. Adam Thielen's the second wide receiver in that Vikings wide receiver room just because of the emergence of Justin Jefferson. Kenny Galladay's dealing with something right now. He was banged up last year, but I think he's going to be good as long as he's healthy. I think he's a guy that's going to be a target in the red zone. He's going to be the alpha in that system. And then Sterling Shepard probably behind him. Quarterbacks, Kyler still on the board. Good value here in the 5th. Same with Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. But for me, as a drafter, I'd be fine with any of these guys right here. So if it comes back around to me and one of these guys is available, I'm fine with that as my quarterback selection here. Even Aaron Rodgers, as a Bears fan, it's tough to say, but good for fantasy as he was the MVP last year. So my pick's going to be another wide receiver to strengthen that room. And I'm actually not going to go with Julio, who I think is going to have a phenomenal year. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson. That guy he was insanely targeted in many games this past season with Big Ben. They're going to establish the run with Najee Harris, but I think that we should expect Deontay Johnson to continue to be the wide receiver 1. Juju Smith-Schuster is very good. Chase Claypool is another very good player, but we saw so many games over 10 targets for Deontay Johnson last year. And even with the issues with the drops that, Mike Tomlin, the coach, talked about, they still were feeding this guy, and Big Ben was still feeding this guy. And the fact that Big Ben is back, I'm confident in him getting tons and tons and tons of targets in the Steelers offense. So I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson. All right. So running back room's kind of a little murky right now. Mike Davis was a top 10 back last year, filling in for injured McCaffrey. He's now with the Falcons. The Falcons are a very pass-heavy team. Todd Gurley had some nice games last year there, but at the same time, I don't think Mike Davis is going to be like the important piece of this team in the way that they operate. Not that he was with the Panthers, but he was highly targeted with the Panthers, which made his value go up. Henderson takes the lead back role for the Rams there after the Cam Akers Achilles injury, but at the same time, I have a feeling they're going to bring in a vet, and I think he'll still be the running back 1, but I think it's going to be a committee sort of approach. Myles Gaskin, great in the passing game last year. I'm not super high in Chase Edmonds. I know he's a good PPR back as well. And, James Conner being there doesn't mean that his value is diminished. But at the same time, I think the expectations for him to be like Alvin Kamara are too high. And I'm just not on board with that. Kareem Hunt, good flex value. Last year, filling in for Chubb, he didn't have like his best. He wasn't the only reason he was valuable last year was not because of the Nick Chubb injury. That's what I was trying to get at. He actually had some value in games that both were on the field, so he's decent there too. I think I'm going to go just wide receiver heavy though. Just get this good draft grade, get as many points as possible. We look at the wide receiver room right now. It's interesting because I'm juggling a few guys. We'll take a look. We mentioned, Juju and Chase Claypool, but we have Deontay Johnson, so I don't want to cap our weekly ceiling. OBJ, a lot of people have been talking about. I'm juggling between Kenny Golladay and T. Higgins there, who I think both can have some good value. I think T. Higgins, a lot of people talk about Jamar Chase and what he's going to bring to this offense, but T. Higgins had some good games this past season. I think that year 2 he's going to do nothing but continue to grow in this offense. Kenny G, new team with the Giants. That's great because I think the change of scenery is something he wanted. I think he's going to be the alpha there, and Matt Stafford obviously is not there anymore either. So I'm sure he's happy to depart when the QB departs. But I'm going here, and I'm going to grab a guy who's a quarterback. And do you have to in the 6th round? No, you don't. But I think that the chance that one of these guys leads quarterbacks for fantasy next season, I think 2 guys right here come to mind. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be very good again. I think Russell Wilson's going to be very good again. But I think Lamar Jackson and Dak, I think both of these guys have a shot to be the overall QB1 for fantasy purposes. Dak Prescott with those weapons and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Blake Jarwin if they use Dalton Schultz. Zeke's going to have a bounce back year. He is dealing with an injury at the shoulder, but I think he's already getting back to being a full go. Lamar Jackson, though, I think is a guy, we saw him be the MVP before. He's going to rush the ball a ton. That elevates a quarterback's ceiling for fantasy purposes. They added Rashad Bateman, who a lot of people liked out of Minnesota. They added Teelan Wallace. They added Sammy Watkins, which not earth-shattering, but this wide receiver room, again, with Hollywood Brown, is a lot better than it's ever been for Lamar Jackson. So I think the opportunity to be more efficient in the passing game is going to be there for Lamar Jackson. And he's going to run the ball a ton. He's going to score touchdowns. And I think having those better options on offense to throw to is really going to help his fantasy stock. Mark Andrews, again, is one of the best tight ends in fantasy, and his connection with Lamar Jackson is real, and it's true, and it's another good piece of Lamar Jackson being good for fantasy. So I'm actually going to take Lamar Jackson here. All right, so we'll see who else flew off the board there. So after that, Mark Andrews, Myles Gaskin, Kareem Hunt, Dak Prescott. So we juggled those two quarterbacks. We took the one that we thought was better. Jerry Jeudy, who I'm a big fan of. Justin Herbert, another sneaky candidate for QB1 status. Kenny Galladay, Tyler Higbee, Russell Wilson, and Henderson. So let's see what the suggested says. So we talked about T. Higgins. We talked about him before. So sometimes waiting on a guy and taking somebody else who might have a little bit bigger of a ceiling for your fantasy outcomes, which we did with the quarterback there, is good because the guy that you talked about earlier can fall sometimes. So, if you're juggling between two guys and one guy you think can really help your team a little bit more than the other and might give you a bigger ceiling than the other, you can take that guy and just hope for the other one to fall. And with the guy falling, I think that T. Higgins is a good pickup right here. It's an offense that's going to have Jamar Chase, going to have Tyler Boyd in it as well. But we saw T. Higgins have some good games with poor quarterback play. They had second string, third string guys after Joe Burrow's injury stepping in, and T. Higgins was a top 30 wide receiver. So for him to be our wide receiver 3 here is not too bad. Not too bad. So I think that's the route we're going to go. We're going to go with T. Higgins, get that third wide receiver option here, and see who falls to us for our flex. So right back on the board, see what we have here. Interesting, Javonte Williams, if he ends up winning that job over Melvin Gordon, I think his fantasy ceiling is going to be pretty high, pretty good. You saw Vic Fangio, the head coach, just like fist bumping and excited when they end up drafting him. So they're excited about him. I think that they're both going to play, though, unless Melvin Gordon gets traded or released for cap reasons. I think that both guys are going to see the field. So that might limit what's going to happen in this offense. James Robinson, I think, still going to play too, but I think the keys might be juggling between him and Travis Etienne and then eventually given to Etienne. So it's a risky pick there. So we'll see what the wide receiver room looks like. And Robbie Anderson did good things last year. He's reunited with Sam Darnold, which is okay, because I think people think it's bigger than it actually is. He was never Sam Darnold's number one target in the offense when he played for them. So I'm a little iffy on him because I think, again, he's going to have some good targets and everything like that. But throughout his career, I just really haven't been a massive fan of his, but I do respect what he did this past season. Courtland Sutton doesn't look super good at camp. I'm pretty sure he doesn't look 100% healthy, so that's iffy for me for him. DJ Chark, I don't know if he's the wide receiver 1 or the wide receiver 3 on this team. I think he could be the 2 or the 3. I don't really see him as the 1 right now. He just had a surgery too in his hand. Tyler Boyd, wide receiver 11 in the weeks that he was with Joe Burrow, so he was good. But again, we don't want to cap our highest potential ceiling for the wide receiver position or our starting fantasy positions here, because him and T. Higgins, who we took, are on the same team, and both guys can't score a touchdown on the same play, right? So we're kind of limiting that ceiling. I like Brandon Cooks a lot, and a lot of people, again, always sleep on Brandon Cooks. I like Brandon Cooks a lot, and he's done it. He's done it as in been a top 20 guy with so many different quarterbacks on different teams. He gets passed around a bit, and he does nothing but ball out. He's not injury prone. The concussions was a 1-year thing. Anybody can be on their last knock in the NFL, knock on wood for health for everybody. But a lot of the stigmas for him, I think, are kind of false. And when we look at the list here, I mean, we can go deeper and deeper. There's a lot of rookies that I like that are probably still left on the board. If we keep going deeper for the wide receiver position, I mean, Devonta Smith is a guy that I like a lot, can have a great fantasy season, but I don't think it's necessary to take him right now. So if there's guys that you see and you want to reach for because those are guys you like or have faith in, so be it. Do it in your fantasy drafts. But at the same time, like we just saw with T. Higgins, if we don't have to grab him right there, there's a good chance that guys can fall to us later. So I'm going to go with a guy I have faith in, a guy who's done it, as in we don't have to just like hope for him to do things. We've seen him do good things. So I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks. With the projections, he's hard words or projections. He's not the highest projected player in this list here, but at the same time, I think he's undervalued, as he always is. So we're going to go with Brandon Cooks. Could be Watson, could be Tyrod Taylor, could be Davis Mills, the rookie. It could be somebody else from a trade or a free agent. I don't know what it's going to be for the Texans, but this guy balls out. So I'm going with Brandon Cooks here. And that should finish our draft, and we'll see what our grade is here. C. I don't mind our team, though. I think like DeAndre Swift, I think, is a guy undervalued. I think Robert Woods consistently undervalued. T. Higgins is a guy that can be good. We got the positional advantage for Darren Waller, and then Brandon Cooks. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I think he's another guy super undervalued. But we'll take the C. We'll take the C and and deal with it there. But hopefully some decent notes here from I got John watching from Facebook. Nothing beats a nice mock draft at work with a lot of good analysis. Appreciate it. Appreciate you tuning in, John, even despite the C grade. But hopefully when this is posted and people watch this, you guys can pick up just some ideas about how to approach a draft, or, you know, some insight on guys you might not be thinking about too much. And again, we got the C for the draft, but I'm pretty happy with that outcome. And I got a lot of guys that I like. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Happy Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the remainder of the weekend. And again, thanks for watching if you did.